The oracle studied them for a long moment. Then she reached into the folds of her wrapper and pulled out a small clay bowl filled with water. "Look," she commanded. They peered into the water and gasped. A vision unfolded before them. Chief Olaleye, kneeling before a dark figure, whispering in a language not of men. Behind him, hidden in the shadows, was a sinister presence, a power beyond mere deception. Iféolúwa clutched Adegbite's arm. This is not just politics. This is something far worse. The oracle nodded. Your enemy does not walk alone. There is an evil far older than this kingdom, and it has already begun to spread its roots. Adegbite's fist clenched. Then we must stop it. The oracle gave a small, knowing smile. But the battle is not just with swords. If you wish to defeat him, you must uncover the greatest deception of all, the one hidden in your own past. Adegbite frowned. What do you mean? But the oracle only laughed, a deep haunting sound that echoed through the forest. You will see soon enough. Then, darkness. The world spun, the vision faded, and suddenly, Adegbite and Iféolúwa were standing outside the shrine once more, the oracle nowhere to be seen. But one thing was clear. This was no longer just a fight for justice. This was a battle against again ancient evil. Adegbite and Iféolúwa stand at the foot of the oracle's shrine, their minds racing with the vision they had just witnessed. A dark force, a deeper deception, a hidden past. Adegbite clenched his fists. We cannot return to the palace yet. We need answers. Iféolúwa, still shaking, nodded. But where do we begin? A sudden rustling in the undergrowth made them spin around. A figure emerged from the shadows. A man draped in a tattered cloak, his face partially hidden by a deep hood. His eyes, however, burned with an intensity that sent a shiver down Adegbite's spine. Follow me, the stranger said, his voice rough like dry leaves in the wind. The oracle has spoken. You must learn the truth before it is too late. Adegbite and Iféolúwa exchanged wary glances. Who are you? Adegbite demanded. The man hesitated before pulling back his hood. Adegbite's breath caught in his throat. The stranger's face was familiar. Too familiar. He was the image of someone Adegbite had only seen in paintings. Someone he had been told died long ago. My name, the man said slowly, is Bayo. Iféolúwa watched in shock as Bayo stepped closer. I was the commander of the king's royal guard, he continued. But when I uncovered Chief Olaleje's plot to seize power, he turned the king against me. He convinced your mother that I had betrayed the kingdom. The king ordered my execution, but I escaped, only barely. Since then, I have been living in exile, watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike back. Iféolúwa spoke carefully. Why reveal yourself now? Bayo's face darkened. Because Olaleye is close to achieving what he has always wanted, the throne itself, and he is not acting alone. He reached into his cloak and pulled out an old, weathered scroll. This, he said, contains the truth about the covenant of the Black Sun. Adegbite took the scroll, unrolling it carefully. Inside were markings, ancient symbols intertwined with lines of forgotten script. Iféolúwa's eyes widened. These are not just political schemes. This is sorcery, Bayo nodded. Olaleye is not just a power-hungry noble. He is a servant of something far older than this kingdom. Something that has been waiting for centuries to rise again. Adegbite's grip tightened around the parchment. Then we must stop him before it's too late. The journey back to the kingdom was perilous. They moved under the cover of darkness, using hidden paths known only to Bayo. When they reached the outskirts of Ojúmọ dàgbèsí, the city was eerily quiet. Torches flickered on palace walls, and banners bearing the king's crest swayed gently in the night breeze. But something was wrong. The usual liveliness of the palace grounds had been replaced with an unnatural stillness. Shadows seemed to move where there were no people, and the air carried a weight of unseen danger. Iféolúwa took a deep breath. "We need to get inside without being seen." Bayo nodded. "There is a hidden passage beneath the palace, a tunnel I used long ago. It leads straight to the royal chambers." Adegbite's heart pounded. He knew that whatever lay beyond that tunnel could change everything. The truth, the deception, the battle for Ojúmọ dàgbèsí. And so, with the echoes of the past whispering in their ears, they stepped into the darkness. The hidden tunnel beneath the palace, dark, damp, and filled with the scent of old earth. Water dripped from the ceiling as Adegbite, Iféolúwa, and Bayo moved cautiously through the narrow passageway. Their footsteps echoed, swallowed by the silence of the underground labyrinths. Bayo led the way, holding a small lantern that cast flickering shadows against the walls. This tunnel was built generations ago as an escape route for the royal family, he whispered. Few know of its existence. Adegbite tightened his grip on the hilt of his dagger. Are we sure it still leads to the royal chambers? Bayo nodded. If nothing has changed, it will bring us out near the king's private quarters. Iféolúwa's voice was barely above a whisper. And what if something has changed? Bayo's jaw tightened. Then we improvise. After what felt like an eternity, they reached the end of the tunnel. Bayo pressed his hand against a section of the stone wall, and with a faint rumble, the hidden passage slid open. They stepped cautiously into the palace. Something was wrong. The grand halls, once filled with the warm glow of lanterns and the murmurs of palace attendants, were unnaturally silent. The usual guards were nowhere to be seen. Iféolúwa frowned. Where is everyone? A sudden clang echoed through the corridor. They ducked behind a pillar as hurried footsteps approached. A palace guard, looking tense and anxious, rushed past them, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword. Adegbite pulled him aside, covering his mouth before he could cry out. Where is the king? He hissed. The guard's eyes widened in fear. You should not be here. Chief Olaleye, A deep boom shook the palace. They turned sharply toward the direction of the throne room. A low, unnatural hum filled the air, like the sound of the winds before a storm. Bayo's expression darkened. We're too late. The doors to the throne room stood slightly ajar, a strange golden light spilling through the gap. Adegbite pushed them open carefully, and what they saw made their blood run cold. Oba Adetokunbo knelt before Chief Olaleye, his hands bound in golden chains. Olaleye stood tall, adorned in flowing robes embroidered with ancient symbols. Around him, nobles and warriors knelt in submission, their eyes glassy, entranced by an unseen force. A dark presence filled the chamber, its essence pressing against the walls like a living thing. And behind Olaleye, standing in the swelling golden light, was something not of this world. A towering figure, clad in tattered black robes, his face obscured by a shifting veil of shadow. It pulsed with raw power, ancient, hungry, watching. Iféolúwa clutched Adegbite's arm. That is no ordinary man, Bayo exhaled sharply. It is Oludajo, the keeper of deception. Adegbite's mind raced. He had heard whispers of Oludajo, the entity that fed on lies, whose influence could turn the most honorable men into betrayers. It was said that once he chose a vessel, he would whisper into their soul, twisting them until they no longer knew the difference between truth and falsehood. Olaleye raised his hands. His voice was like honey laced with poison. Today, he declared, the reign of Oba Adetokunbo ends. A new king shall rise, one who will usher in an era of true power. The nobles and warriors cheered mindlessly, their voices hollow, as if they no longer controlled their own tongues. Adegbite's fists clenched. We have to stop this. Iféolúwa swallowed hard. How? He has the entire palace under his spell. Bayo drew his sword. Not everyone. They had come too far to turn back. The echoes of deception had spread through the kingdom. But now, they would fight to reveal the truth. Adegbite took a deep breath, gripping his dagger tightly. It was time to take back Ojúmọ dàgbèsí.